Alrighty, how's everyone doing today? It is currently October the 6th, Sunday, and this is a extreme weather briefing on Hurricane Milton, as it is now a Category 1 hurricane and is undergoing rapid intensification as we speak right now. The latest national hurricane models have this thing trending all the way up to a major Category 4 hurricane with winds well over 144 miles an hour, and this is going to continue to do so and continue to strengthen as it pushes closer and closer to Florida. So in this video, we're going to break down all the details and everything that you need to know to stay safe and weather aware. So let's get right into it. Ready, taking a look at the latest satellite imagery. This is currently 4:30 p.m. Central Time as of making this video, and you can clearly see the tops of this storm absolutely blowing up, already undergoing rapid intensification. And if you kind of see right here, this little curly Q going around the center on the northern and western part, this is the development of the eye wall, and we don't have that just yet around the southern or southeastern side of this. But once this gets fully convected all the way around, rapid intensification is going to undergo very, very quickly, and this thing's going to start blowing up a lot faster as it moves off to the state of Florida. And here's the latest 4 p.m. advisory Central Time of Hurricane Milton by the National Hurricane Center. Max sustained winds as of 4 p.m. Central Time, 85 miles an hour, moving east at 7 miles an hour. And the movement is also going to play a role in the time it has and the strength that it's going to be able to undergo before it makes landfall of hitting Florida, because you can see right now not moving very fast. We're actually expected by tomorrow 1 p.m. to already be a major hurricane, which would put it at a Category 3, winds of at least 110 miles an hour, if not more. And for anyone that doesn't know, rapid intensification means any storm that has max sustained winds that increases by 35 miles an hour within a 24-hour period. And this is going to do so pretty closely from now until tomorrow 1 p.m. I wouldn't be surprised if it does it before then. And like I said, by the time it gets to 1 p.m. Tuesday, 1 a.m. Wednesday, all bets are off. This thing is most likely going to be ripping as a major Category 4 hurricane with winds well over 145 miles an hour. And there's a couple variables that I want to talk about as far as the strength as it gets closer to landfall. I do think no matter what, this thing is going to make landfall as a major hurricane. The impacts are going to be devastating. Anybody that lives along the immediate coastline from Tampa all the way down to Naples, Sarasota, Fort Myers, Point South needs to get out, needs to evacuate now, okay? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if this thing is a Cat 3, it doesn't matter if it's Cat 4, this thing is going to absolutely inundate any areas on the southern eastern side of this eye wall, storm surge, most likely 15 to 20 feet. Like I said, it's a little bit too early to nail down any specifics, but this storm is going to be very dangerous and very devastating. But I do want to talk about how I do think that there's a possibility in our saving grace that there might be some wind shear as it gets closer to landfall, maybe roughly about 25 to 30 knots of wind shear that might try to heed rapid intensification, might try to weaken it as it gets closer to the land. All right, now starting with the HAFSA model, which is a hurricane model, and this one did actually pretty decent when it came to Hurricane Helene. And this is as of right now. It's saying that this storm is a 989. It actually has just a tad, couple millibars weaker than what it actually currently is, based off the latest observation data from the National Hurricane Center. But so what's interesting is we're going to go a couple through these models, and you can see as we go forward in time to Monday, tomorrow, roughly about midday, down to a 975. We keep pushing at 966. Let's go all the way into Tuesday. We're down to a 948, going all the way to Tuesday afternoon as it's passing the Yucatan Peninsula just north, down to a 918. It gets down to a 908. So yeah, all the way down. This model wants to take it down by Wednesday evening, all the way down to a 908 millibar. Category 5 hurricane at this point, pretty much. I mean, this thing is absolutely ripping. Winds probably well over 160 miles an hour, potentially gusting to like 200 miles an hour. I mean, this is absolutely a beast. If this happens, this is not going to be good whatsoever. But like I said, our saving grace may be that wind shear, and all the models kind of agree with the same outcome. No matter how strong it gets in the Gulf of Mexico, they all agree with the fact that as it gets closer to the coast, we're back up to 927, 936, 950, 956. And this one actually shows it making landfall a little bit more north as well. And the track might wobble a little bit up and down. This one shows it going just north of Tampa Bay, which should be absolutely devastating because that's going to put the Tampa Bay area on the worst part for the storm surge, the southern eastern eye wall, and those waters are just going to be surging up into the bay, and it's going to be absolutely devastating. But like I said, this one takes it all the way down to a 956 on landfall. And stays pretty much a Category 1 hurricane over the whole entire state of Florida, but definitely a little bit weaker, and I think it's kind of accounting for some of that wind shear as well. Alrighty, now taking a look at the HMON model. This one is quite interesting because this one wants to take it a lot further north, like pretty much to the Big Bend area, and I'll kind of show you. And I want to show you all the different models and which models usually do a pretty good job when it comes to tracking and predicting these hurricanes, just so y'all can see all the outcomes. And then at the end of it, I'm going to state what I think is going to happen and what I think is the most likely outcome, right? Because a lot of these are going to be outliers. A lot of these aren't going to happen, but it's really going to depend on multiple variables, where different weather systems are set up, the flow, the current of different things. And I don't want to get too technical with it because I wanted to keep it plain and simple for y'all to understand as well. But let's go ahead and take this model forward, right? So we're roughly about today, Sunday. It has it a little bit weaker, obviously, than what the National Hurricane Center observations has it as of right now. But let's go ahead and go into tomorrow afternoon. This thing's going all the way down to a 969. It would take it into Tuesday down to a 951, 945. Wednesday down to a 933, 930, 924, and 924 is the strongest that it gets on this model, and that's right off the coast of Florida. But look, again, this one, same thing, except it's headed more north. Here's the Tampa area down here, Big Bend up here, and this thing wants to really take it into the Big Bend, almost I think Perry's up here, but that's really close for comfort, too close for comfort. This one takes it in just a tad bit. It looks like almost a tad bit stronger, but I think even if we did have a more northern pool and it did make landfall a little bit more northern, I think it would actually be a lot weaker than what it would be during south, because there's a lot less wind shear to the south. So that's another thing to think about too. Wherever this thing makes landfall is definitely going to be a big opponent, and how strong it gets, how long it's able to sustain itself. Because at this point, I'm going to say a more northern track is going to be a weaker storm, a more southern track is going to be a stronger storm. So the further south this thing goes, the stronger it's going to be. The more northern goes, the weaker it's going to be, just due to the amount of wind shear there is up here in the north. Alrighty, and the last model that I want to show y'all is the GFS, which usually the GFS model is the one that kind of paints these fantasy pictures when it comes to these major hurricanes, right? It wants to go above and beyond, wants to show a crazy over Cat 5 hurricane sometimes. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I think in this case it might be underdoing it just a little bit. And I think it's accounting for a lot more wind shear than what there really is. And we can kind of see, if we go to tomorrow, right, it's down to a 961. If we kind of take a data sample here, a sounding, right, it's really not showing too much wind shear at all. I mean, it's not even actually bringing up any wind shear. Okay, so let's continue to go forward. Let's go to Wednesday, right? Get another sounding here. You see, it's saying 27 knots, and as it gets closer to the shore, right, 27 knots of wind shear, and as it pretty much makes landfall, it's saying, it starts weakening. It's saying that this thing is going to be encountering 34 knots of wind shear. So the wind shear definitely increases as we get closer, based off these soundings and based off the data. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and go back to the HFS model, and let's go ahead and take a sounding here right before it makes landfall. Max wind shear, 34 knots. Let's go ahead and take it back to Wednesday here when it's a 908. And let's see, wind shear, 28 knots. Huh, interesting. Okay. Like I said, I think it's really going to come down to also how quickly it's able to develop. And there is a little bit of dry air as well. There is a little bit of dry air. The further north it goes, it will be encountering some dry air. So like I said, if it's able to get a lot stronger quicker, and it's able to take more of a southern dive, then I think it's going to definitely be a more devastating issue and a more stronger storm. But here's the thing, guys. What I really want to touch on is that no matter how strong this thing gets, if this thing makes landfall as a Category 3 versus a Category 5, it's still going to be devastating if it makes landfall just north of the Tampa Bay area here, or just north of the bay down here, like near Fort Myers, Punta Gorda, because these two bays right here, just imagine you have a storm making landfall just to the north of it, right? Winds are wrapping around this area like this, right? You're having winds over 100 miles an hour streaming and pushing all this water right up into the bay, right? See, if the center was more south down here, then it would be being pushed out and then coming into this bay down here. So the placement is going to make a huge difference. It either being a Cat 3 or a Cat 5 is going to make a huge difference on what impact you see in your specific area. And like I said, it's still too early to really nail down those specifics. That's why I just kind of want to give an overall brief forecast of, what I think is going to happen and what's going to happen based on where it could potentially make landfall. So if you're in the north, if you're in Tampa Bay, definitely keep an eye on this thing, because if this thing starts trending back to the north, hey, I mean, all bets are off at that point. It's definitely going to be a very devastating and nasty storm. All right, and we can see here specifically with the GFS, the wind shear, right? These brighter colors, the bright red, orange colors are more higher wind shear, and hurricanes don't do very well on wind shear. It rips them apart, disorganizes the center, and displaces it. And once that happens, all bets are off, and it starts rapidly weakening. And we can kind of see as we go forward in the future, 973, starts strengthening once it gets north of the Yucatan, 955, and then once as we get close to the coast, you see kind of up here, right? 955, 954, 960, and then it starts, rapidly weakening, obviously due to the land encounter as well. But you can see there's a lot more up here north in the Big Bend. So if this thing would to come more south, like towards the Keys, it wouldn't really have any wind shear to account for, and a lot less dry air. So if this thing were to come into like Louisiana, Alabama, the Florida, not the Florida Keys, the Big Bend area of Florida, I do think it would be a lot weaker, just the fact that you got all this wind shear. So just kind of want to show you all that in correlation of what I showed you on the models, and just to kind of paint a better picture. So, and last but not least, I want to show you all some of the model intensity guidance. And this has not been updated since it's been a tropical storm. It is now a Category 1 hurricane now. So a lot of these numbers are going to be a lot higher now. And matter of fact, the National Hurricane Center has the track intensity pretty much officially reaching a Category 4 now in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. So we're going to see a lot of these pushing probably Cat 4, Cat 5 on the next update, which I will relate to y'all when I come out with the next video update probably sometime tomorrow morning. So definitely stay tuned for that. But this is going to conclude it for today's video, guys. If you liked the video, like it, subscribe. If you have any comments, definitely let me know down below. My prayers go out to all that were affected by Hurricane Helene, especially in the Carolinas. Absolutely biblical, devastating flooding up there. Wouldn't want that for anybody. So I pray that everyone has a quick, fast recovery, and everyone's getting what they need up there as soon as they need it, as quickly as possible. So stay tuned, guys. Stay weather aware. And if you're near the coast of Florida now, the time to prepare is now.